Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 106 of the All Dolphins podcast. For number 6, we are going to revisit a good friend of ours. If I tell you the phrase, don't care.
Jay Cutler, baby.
Jay Cutler, 1-year stopgap quarterback in 2017 after Ryan Tannehill, who had torn his ACL the December before, opted against surgery, shows up at training camp, and then he's rolling out. Got my binoculars on him. He's scrambling to his right in between the two fields, and he pulls up. And I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good. And sure enough, he tore his ACL, and then Adam Gase got Jay Cutler out of the Fox broadcast booth where he was going to be really good. I think Jay Cutler actually was going to be very good as a broadcaster.
You know, he's on Inside the NFL right now, and he's okay. I don't know if he was going to be really good. I don't think this thought and perception that he was going to be really good as a broadcaster is reality. But, hey, I'll let you keep the story going.
Well, no, but because he's very opinionated and he's a smart guy, he's just not necessarily the most, shall we put it, the most congenial person in the world. And his press conferences were always interesting that year because it was like, holy moly. Let's say the level when I joked don't care, the level of caring but that particular year from that guy was not great. And the Dolphins also had Matt Moore at the ready to come in to play quarterback instead, but Adam Gase wanted no part of Matt Moore, as you've chronicled many times on this podcast.
The one thing I remember about Jay Cutler was he practiced phenomenally. Mm-hmm. He really looked good as a practice performer. Now, keep in mind, I remember there was one practice where he made Devontae Parker look like Julio Jones. And he was roasting Byron
Maxwell.
No. Yes, it was Byron Maxwell. Who, another trade I said to Miami, don't do.
It's a great trade.
It was a horrible trade.
Okay, hold on. Finish your point about Cutler, and we're going to go back to that trade. And for those of you who don't like us talking recent Dolphin history, in this particular case, too bad. We are going to get to all the Dolphins news of the day sooner rather than later. But I'm going to fight back on
those who don't like it. There's actually a large percentage of fans who actually like it more than those who don't like it. But anyway, let's move. I remember Jay Cutler. He was a dynamic practice performer. Talking to players, the problem was when the actions were live and he wasn't wearing a red jersey and people were actually hitting him, he wanted no business of that. And remember, his ribs got broken that season.
He did.
And after his ribs got broken, he literally played hot potato with the football because he didn't want any of that. And remember, he basically quit. He basically said, I'm not playing in the final game. I think he took maybe one snap and then was just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, they were out of the playoffs by then anyway, but I do remember that. And it was, who was that quarterback that Adam Gase kept bringing back year after year after year?
David Fales?
There you go, David Fales. Very good, David Fales forward.
I like David Fales, by the way. He reminded me a lot of Tua. But anyway,
what?
Accuracy, precision passing. He's got a lot of that. Let's stick to the topic.
Okay.
So, in that final season, he was just like, yeah, I'm not going to get hit. And in the final stretch of the season, if a pass rusher was even remotely close to him, that ball was coming out of his hands because he was not going to get injured again. And think about this. Think about where you have to be mentally for your final game and knowing it's your final game in the NFL. You basically say, yeah, I'm not playing. Let that guy play.
Well, he checked out by then. And again, the fact that the Dolphins were the playoff contention, I don't know that Gase really cared that much that he wasn't going to play or the other players. Can we go back to the trade? I mean, were you serious? Do you remember the trade? The trade was Byron Maxwell and Kiko Alonso and the 13th overall pick in the 2016 draft for the 8th overall pick in the 2016 draft, which Philly maneuvered into a higher pick, eventually wound up taking Carson Wentz. And the Dolphins, with that 13th overall pick in 2016, wound up picking Laramie Tunsil. Forgetting that stroke of good luck that got them Tunsil, you picked up two guys who were very instrumental in a team that wound up making the playoffs. If you remember, Kiko Alonso that year was Mr. The ball always finds me at the right time. So
that is accurate.
So how
Kiko Alonso wasn't the problem that I had with that trade.
But what's the problem with the trade?
You knew Byron Maxwell was busted and drastically overpaid. It was a salary dump for both players.
Absolutely. Well, they had. I think with Maxwell, absolutely. I think with Alonso, if I remember correctly, the Eagles were kind of tired of the fact that he was always injured, which became an issue with the Dolphins as well.
He is basically a throw-in player. But yes, Byron Maxwell was a salary dump. Byron Maxwell was never good. And
first year in Miami. And do they make the playoffs in 2016 without those two players?
Okay, I'm looking at the isolated situation of the trade. Keep in mind, you swapped out Byron Maxwell for more money and released Brent Grimes, who was a far superior player.
Cool, but that's apples and oranges. Why Brent Grimes got cut. Come on.
I do know why Brent Grimes got cut.
Football people would know.
But you could have found a way to figure it out. And then to replace him with Byron Maxwell, come on, Byron Maxwell wasn't good. Never was good.
He was fine the first year he was here.
Fine. You see,
and you picked up two starters, the two guys who started for your playoff team defense to move down 5 spots in the first round.
Yeah, and Tony Lippett and Bobby McCain were starters on that playoff team defense. Doesn't mean that Cordrea Tankersley doesn't mean they were good. They caught lightning in a bottle that year, and they got lucky. And Byron Maxwell just so happened to be on the field. I'm not going to disrespect Kiko Alonso because I would argue that Kiko Alonso was one of the better linebackers, inside linebackers that they've had since Zach Thomas retired. I would probably put. What'd you say?
A low bar, but yes.
I would probably put him behind Carlos Dansby as the number 2 inside linebacker that they've had during that stretch. You could name me a better one.
Well, you had one good year. I would make the argument probably.
One good year? Are you crazy? Kiko had more than one good year.
He got hurt in 2017. Other than that cheap shot he took at Joe Flacco in 2017.
Oh, stop it! Kiko had more than one good year. Kiko was a 100 tackle guy.
Hold on. I would make the argument Jerome Baker was okay. I sit corrected. He had 100 tackles for 3 straight years with the Dolphins, but never ever matched the production of 2016. Although in 2018,
125 tackles,
3 picks and 3 forced fumbles.
Yeah, okay, man.
Maybe I owe him a little bit more respect.
You can't name anybody better. Donnell Ellerbe was not better. Philip Wheeler was not better. I would argue too that Jerome Baker was not better. Has not been better. Jerome gives you more from a sack standpoint, but Kiko was instinctive. Now, okay, was he? And had his best season, and then got dumped by Brian Flores, obviously, and then didn't do much the rest of his career because I don't know what really happened. Maybe injury standpoint,
but injuries. But you remember the trade, right? They traded him to the Saints for Vince Spiegel.
For like a cup of coffee. It wasn't
if you remember, it was the tanking years, 2019, they traded him.
Yeah, they were just trying to be bad. Even though Brian Flores says they weren't trying to be bad.
Correct.
Let me correct myself. The organization was trying to be bad. Brian Flores was trying to win games. Let me be accurate on there.
Okay, well, this is where I'm going to repeat. I said what I said. That to me was a great trade. Again, because of the cost.
I forget who I wanted in that trade, and I'm not going to look it up now, but I didn't want to move down to 13. Yes, you're lucky and fortunate that you got Laramie Tunsil. Thank God that you did and that you traded him in a tank season for a bounty of draft picks that built this team right now. And just be thankful that it's actually a good team and that Austin Jackson and Tua Tagovailoa look like solid prospects. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster.
Although Austin Jackson has nothing to do with that particular trade, and Tua either. Tua was the Dolphins' own pick, and Austin Jackson was the pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Okay,
Noah Benogany was the pick, that first-round pick, and then the following year, I believe the pick that became Jaylen Waddle was the Houston pick. Anyway, okay, so those who don't care about the past want to talk about the 2023 Dolphins. Here we go. Today's Friday, October 20th, the final injury report for Week 7. is out, and a whole lot of question marks for the Dolphins. Jaylen Ramsey is the only player listed as out. We already knew that since Mike McDaniel said it Wednesday when he confirmed that he was returning to practice. Alec Ingold with the foot, Xavier Howard with the groin, Connor Williams with the groin, and Nick Needham with the Achilles, all listed as questionable for the game against the Eagles. You I saw X spoke. You put a clip on social media where X saying, I'm playing. So that takes care of that. I'd still say iffy on Connor Williams personally. Alec Ingold, I can't see any issue there since he played last week under the same circumstances.
Yeah. To me, if I had to put money on it, I would bet that Xavier plays just because Xavier wants to play. He doesn't want to miss this matchup. And Xavier's not giving up prime time. So let's and you could be cautious and guard him against himself, but maybe if something flares up, you scale it back and you put Cam Smith out there. And I do believe that Cam Smith would actually be Xavier's replacement. Connor Williams, and I wrote a column on alldolphins.com. I know he practiced for 2 straight days, and I know he's been limited, and I know he's working his way back. But when you talk to Mike McDaniel is talking about big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Let's learn from what we did previously, where is we pushed it and we cost ourselves. But then look at it from Connor Williams' standpoint. You know this is a big team for your team. This is a big game for your team. You know that this is a game where I call it a body bag game. And here's the reason why I call it a body bag game. Everybody, it's a nationally televised game. Body bag games are games against a physical team. And I promise you, you will lose a player for the season. It's going to happen.
Oh, Omar.
I'm sorry. They'll lose 1-2, but you'll lose 1-2.
Wow.
Think about it. Think about how these games play out. When you have that level of physicality in a game, you will lose, I believe, about 6 to 8 players to injuries per season that'll be out for longer than 6 weeks. And my fear is that Connor Williams is going to be one of those players if he keeps pushing that groin. My hope is that if he does play, Tua Tagovailoa is not going to be that player that gets injured.
Oh man, you're putting that out there. Holy moly.
I don't live in that pretend injuries are not part of football fantasy land. I don't.
You know that you're going to have some fans coming at you for like, oh, you're jinxing it. You're jinxing it.
Oh, man, whatever. Listen, if there's a team that I need to be on that line, if I'm Connor Williams, and if there's a team that I need to be out there to be on that line to protect my quarterback and give my team the best chance that they could possibly have to win the game, I honestly think it would be Kansas City. But Connor Williams probably thinks it's the Eagles. And he probably thinks it's the Eagles because of that ferocious 3-man defensive tackle monster that they've got, that eats humans for a living and eats people's children. And I'm not arguing against him. Now.
Oh, but you got to, and this is where Mike McDaniel says, I'm going to protect the players from themselves. Again, Omar, big picture. I
agree.
Picture.
I agree with you. He shouldn't play. Now, will he try to play? Yes.
It's not his call if McDaniel. But this is where, with a groin strain, if that's what we're suggesting that both he and X have, it's going to come down. I don't think it's something that the doctors can examine. It's basically asking the player how he feels. And this is where the Dolphins are going to be like, listen, X, listen, Connor, we need you guys to be 100% honest with us. And are those guys going to be like, I'm not feeling 100%, but hell no, I'm not telling him that because I want to play.
Okay, and let's be real, since we're going to have real conversations here.
We always have real conversations.
Can I shoot it up and play and make it through and then deal with the consequences later? And
that's dumb.
How often does it get done? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I am not saying that this is the wise approach. if it were me, I would not play Connor. And I know the consequences that come with not playing Connor. Honestly, if it were me, I probably wouldn't play X either, because I'm thinking bigger picture. And this Eagles game does not have as much ramifications as that Patriots game, as that Chiefs game, as that Raiders game, as that Jets game. And I need them for those games. I need them for the stretch from week 8 to week 12. I don't need them for an NFC game in week 7. Yes, national television. And yeah, everybody's saying, oh, if the Dolphins win this, then they're for real. Oh, if the Dolphins win this, they'll be the talk of the NFL universe if they pull off a victory. And what is that worth to you? Is it worth losing 2 very important players for the next 5 weeks?
No. And by the way, you called it a body bag game. I wrote a column on Dolphins.com today. I called it a statement game. And for me, it's not even about winning the game. They got to hang with the Eagles the way they didn't against Buffalo, where you yourself after the game said, like, Josh Allen's your daddy or Buffalo's your daddy, whatever. We can't be saying that.
Josh Allen pays child support to Miami Dolphins. He does. Josh Allen is your daddy. Okay. Like, don't play like he doesn't pay child support.
No, I agree, but it wasn't just him. The Bills, once it was 14-14, and the rest of the game was 34-6. The Bills completely wiped the Dolphins off the floor after the first flurry. And if we're going to stamp the Dolphins as legitimate Super Bowl contenders, which I believe you've already done,
they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders, even if they lose.
Okay, and see if they lose, they can lose. That's fine. They got to hang. If it's another game where they're kind of outmatched physically, then I have concerns. And this is where
what if it's turnovers? What if it's turnovers?
Then that's fine. Again, if you're hanging physically, and it's just if you just turn the ball over a lot, that happens. That to me would not deter from making the statement that you need to make. But as it stands right now, because you called it, you talked about how physical the game can be. The Dolphins, again, until proven otherwise, are a finesse team. They need to show that physical element.
That's true, and that's fair. And those guys, they know it. The defensive linemen know it. The offensive linemen know it. Liam Eichenberg knows it. And everybody's dialed in. And yes, this is a statement game. My fear, my worry, my concern, take off your Dolphins fanaticism, take off that I'm not going to knock on wood. There are NFL games that will cost you players. This is one. And you better make sure it's a Chris Brooks and not a Connor Williams or Xavier Howard.
Wow. Harsh. Not very nice.
No disrespect to Chris Brooks.
I know. I'm the one who kept saying it wasn't that big a deal that he wound up on that. I'm just playing. That's completely fair. We should point out before we continue, Andrew Van Ginkel was back at practice after his illness, didn't even get a game status designation. He's good to go. Same with Cater Kohu, Jalen Phillips, everybody else. It's just the 4 guys that are questionable. On the flip side, all those big-name Eagles players who either miss practice.
Everybody healthy. Everybody's right.
Except for safety Reed Blankenship and cornerback Bradley Roby. That means, yes, Jalen Carter. Yes, Lane Johnson. Yes, Darius Slay. Yes, Dallas Goedert. So the Eagles will be at close to 100% for that game.
And they've got guys who are hanging by a fingernail in terms of their health status. What about their left guard? Is their left guard? I mean, right, their guard.
Their guard's on IR. Cam Jurgens is on IR. He's not playing.
Okay.
He's not playing. But that's, if you remember, who was it? It was Vic Fangio talked about how they've had 4 of the 5 same starters for like the past 2 or 3 years. It's everybody except the right guard, whose name was Isaac Seumalo, who's now with the Steelers. But Mailata at left tackle, Landon Dickerson at left guard, Jason Kelce at center, Lane Johnson at right tackle. Those guys have been a fixture on that offensive line, and they're all going to play.
Okay, I was watching some of their game against the Jets, and I came away with a couple of things. The interior of their offensive guard spot, except for Kelce, can be beaten. And also, Swift in the passing game will be trouble for these linebackers.
Yes.
Also, Jalen Hurts, man, that kid is strong. And when he scrambles and gets out the pocket, he's throwing accurate passes. So there's going to be a whole lot of scramble ball plays. And then AJ Brown, what X said, because I was very intrigued by the fact that X, I watched AJ Brown, and I don't think Devonta Smith is going to be completely playing healthy. He's got a knee issue, I believe. And what is it?
Hammy.
And I think he's probably going to be maybe out there at 70%. So I'm not worried about that. I know X is probably not going to shadow this week just because that's not who Big Daddy does. That's not what Big Daddy does. Or maybe not what he does until he gets Jaylen Ramsey out here. What concerns me is Brown and the physicality that they have. If I'm the Eagles, I'm trying to match him up against Cater, a young kid who he likes to hold. Wow,
did you go there? I thought I was the only one who pointed that out.
You did. You pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh, he's a holder.
He is handsy.
He likes to hold. He doesn't have the reputation to get fit to get those calls. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, he's probably going to think that he can match up physically against AJ Brown, and AJ Brown's going to push him off. And you know they don't call that on offensive players.
Very rarely.
So I'm a little bit concerned from that standpoint with Cater and that matchup. But c'est la vie, it's going to be what it's going to be. And hopefully he learned from that Stephon Diggs experience. And I like Cater. I really do like Cater. I think he's a very talented upcoming player. However, I would limit his snap count, and I'd limit him to the nickel package. And I wouldn't stunt his growth and progression. And my fear is that could happen tomorrow. That could happen on Sunday.
So you'd have him play strictly in the nickel and put somebody else outside with X? Okay. No, the thing about AJ,
who that is, I don't know. And
there's no obvious one right now.
Eli, I go with Eli.
Yeah, but he's so like this.
Yeah. Okay.
He's so like this. AJ Brown to me is probably the second strongest wide receiver in the NFL, off the top of my head.
Second strongest.
Yeah, the first one should be kind of obvious if you've ever seen the dude without a shirt. I mean,
Metcalf. Okay.
Oh God, Jesus Christ! His muscles have muscles. AJ Brown is some kind of strong too. You're not arguing that one, are you?
I'm trying to think of who could be stronger.
Oh, you mean okay? I thought you were. I was hoping you weren't arguing with like DK Metcalf.
No. Mike Evans, maybe. Mike Evans is.
No, he's more like AJ Brown is like. I mean, he's like put together.
Oh, have you seen Mike Evans? Mike Evans is huge. Mike Evans is
he's tall. He's like 6'4", 6'4" or something, but I don't know that he's cut the way AJ Brown is. Anyway, no, is this a spot, especially if Devontae Smith is, as you mentioned, not 100% Devontae Smith? Is this a spot where roll out Cam Smith? They keep talking about. I mean, of course, it's coach speak where Vic Fangio is saying he's progressing and getting better and better, and Mike McDaniel's getting better and better. Well, it's 6 weeks now, so if he keeps getting better every week, then he should be 6 times better than he was in week 1.
Yeah, so, I definitely want to roll him out during this stretch of the season, but is the Eagles week really the week to roll him out? I'm not saying that it's not. He's no longer talked to Cam Smith yesterday. He's no longer on special teams duty, scout team duty. So he's getting in there with the defense and he's cutting his teeth. Now, can he replace and leapfrog a Justin Bethel? Possible. Could he replace and leapfrog an Eli Apple? It's possible. The question is, when is Vic Fangio going to feel comfortable enough to put him out there?
Right.
I don't think that's going to be Eagles week, but hey, who knows?
Well, if it's not Eagles week, then it better be Patriots week because their wide receivers are booty cheeks.
Yeah,
I mean, those are bad. Those are bad wide receivers. There's nothing there.
And as you know, as we fought about yesterday, I don't see any reason why you can't give a cornerback a series.
We're not going there again. We're not.
But
okay, fine.
I'm a firm believer in that. But
No,
anyway.
I know you are. In this particular case, if the one cornerback that you insert into the game to give somebody a breather is Cam Smith, then I'm all for it because I want to see the guy on the field. And maybe I'm being guilty of fanning a little bit because I loved what I saw from the kid in training.
He was good in camp.
Correct. And I want to see.
He was probably the second best cornerback in camp.
He was as good as anybody maybe behind X.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think there was anybody really better than him.
No, and I'm like impatient to see exactly what this kid can do and what his ceiling might be as an NFL cornerback. Is that the prudent thing to do? That's where Vic Fangio gets paid a hell of a lot more money than I do to make those decisions. And obviously he knows better. He's seen. I can't imagine, and I still have been remiss in not reaching out to my people in Denver to find out if this is a Vic Fangio thing. There are certain coaches who just do not trust rookies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they will not put him in a position, to get burned, regardless of potential or ability. And I don't know, is Vic one of those guys? I don't know. I seem to recall he had Patrick Surtain the second early on in his career, and I think he started pretty much from the start. So
yeah, but Surtain was so technically sound.
Well, I was going to say, certainly not suggesting that he's the same dude. Surtain's first year was 2021 when Fangio was a head coach and he started 15 games. But again, we're talking about one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL already in his third season. So, what else do we need to discuss on this wonderful Friday afternoon?
Jeff Wilson. Yes. Release Jeff Wilson. He said to me, coming soon. And I was like, long overdue. Yeah, like
we don't know it's not coming at probably, I don't know. Let me guess, 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. Dolphins activate Jeff Wilson off.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they made, I guess he doesn't have a game designation, which means he's basically all cleared and ready to go. But what was Nick Needham last week? Was Nick Needham doubtful?
Nick Needham, I believe, was doubtful. Yes.
So we're stepping up a little bit in the Nick Needham. So we're now questionable. So I based off what Vic Fangio said on Tuesday, which was basically, to paraphrase, everybody keeps telling me that he's pretty good. I'm still waiting to see it, which I was like, okay, Ramsey replaced Nick Needham as the scout team cornerback. And so, by the way, Jaylen Ramsey received the scout team player of the week honor for defense. The offensive player was the Funk running back and Braylon Sanders.
Jake Funk.
Yeah. I mean, I said the Funk running back.
I know, it's a funny way of saying his name. It's funny. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to remember his first name. But yeah, Funk and Braylon Sanders and Jaylen Ramsey were the top special teams performers. Scout team performers. So let's clap it up for Jaylen Ramsey as a scout team performer. They get a camouflage Dolphins jersey for the final practice of Friday. But my point is, Jaylen Ramsey replaced Nick Needham, so Nick Needham finally got to play on defense. And let's see if he's earned that playing time. Unfortunately, I don't know where you can find that spot on the roster unless you're willing to release a player, and we all know Mike McDaniels is not willing to release a player.
Well, but he's going to have to. And in fact, I'm doing an all Dolphins mailbag that's going to be posted not long after we finish with this podcast. And one of the questions,
I don't know.
What'd you say?
I think Mike McDaniels gets really attached to his players, and I don't see.
Oh, Jesus! What? Okay, he's a coach running a business. Because guess what? When Teron Armstead gets ready to come back from IR, it's going to break his heart, but he's still going to release somebody. When Devon Achane comes back from IR, it's going to break his heart. He's still going to release somebody.
When I see it, I'll believe it.
Okay. If the Dolphins do activate Nick Needham, I think I'm looking at Kelvin Joseph as, I don't know if I'd be making like long-term plans for Miami at this point.
Wow. Okay.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. The trade benefit of trading Kelvin Joseph for Noah Igbenogany was Noah's contract was fully guaranteed. Kelvin Joseph's contract is not fully guaranteed.
Correct.
And you can move on from him. Yeah, Kelvin Joseph, you look like you're the potential odd man out. You know how I feel about no disrespect to Brandon Peely and his family and his camp and all the Polynesians that support him. But I don't. Brandon Peely can go on your practice squad. I promise you he can.
I could say the same thing about Kelvin Joseph.
Yeah. Yes, I think somebody might claim him.
And you also have 5 interior defensive linemen on your roster. Wilkins, Davis, Sealer, Deshaun Hand, Brandon Peely. That's not a big number. If you waive Peely, you're down to 4. That's a very low number. How many DBs do they have on the roster?
Wow.
If you bring in Needham, that's one more. Just for example, when they bring in Armstead, if I'm Keon Smith, I'm getting nervous.
Oh yeah, come on. Keon knows what's coming.
Well, but it's going to break Mike McDaniel's heart, is it not?
It is going to break Mike McDaniel's heart.
Then he's still going to do it.
Well, yeah, Tyler Croft also. Your days could be numbered, brother.
You're going to keep only 2 tight ends on the roster?
You got Alec Ingold, but yes, I hear what you're saying. And then don't forget Tanner Connor, who got elevated last week.
Well, this could be a case where maybe at some point, because remember how infatuated the Dolphins were with Tanner Connor last summer. It's not impossible. Well, I like the look he just gave, but they were. It's not impossible that at some point maybe they elevate Connor Saturday would be the second time. They elevate him again next week would be the third time, and then they have no choice. And then maybe at that time, if they still like Connor as much as they once did, that they sign him to the active roster, and this is where Tyler Croft would be in danger. I could see that swap. And even though it would break Mike McDaniel's heart.
What are your thoughts on Chase Claypool? This is the week he plays?
Absolutely. I would expect him to get snaps on special teams. Dude, it's been 2 weeks already.
Bro, you act like 2 weeks. Do you learn how to speak Spanish in 2 weeks?
¿Dónde está el baño, mi amigo? Come on, there you go.
Give me another sentence.
Sorry?
I said, give me another sentence, and I might believe you.
Dame leche, por favor.
I thought you were going to ask for a kiss. Dame un beso.
Oh, hell no.
It's funny, the Spanish that I know.
I do it in French. When I want to do that, I do it in French.
Yes, that would mean probably a deactivation of Robbie Chosen, but I think those spots are spots that you earn in practice during that week.
Sure.
Always, I say this always, when you deactivate Robbie Chosen and something happens to one of your frontline receivers, Waddle or Tyreek, your offense is going to have to change without Robbie Chosen.
How many targets did you have last week?
No, it doesn't matter. I told you he's out there gassing out these receivers. I mean, these cornerbacks. And then they swap in Tyreek in the game on a cornerback on 70, a cornerback whose gas tank is on E, and then magic, voila!
I think we have solved the riddle of who's most responsible for the success of the offense. It's not Mike McDaniel, it's not Tyreek, it's not Tua, it's not the offensive line. It's Robbie Chosen wearing down the cornerbacks.
The other receivers wear him down too. River Craycraft used to do it.
Okay, sorry. But there you go. It's solved. So now we can stop with the whole who should get the credit. I would expect, going back to Claypool, I would expect a handful of snaps on special teams and a handful of snaps, not many, maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 on offense.
I don't know. I don't think he's mastered it. I had this feeling. I don't think he's mastered it. I remember a lot of criticism from him coming into Chicago was he didn't put in the time to learn the offense. Well, this is not an offense where they're going to just call your shots for you and let you freestyle and freelance. It's not. It's
also last chance you.
Yeah, that's true.
For a guy whose contract is up at the end of the year.
I gotta look to see if he's been active on these social media streets. He's a big social media guy. I don't have TikTok. Man, I do have TikTok, but it's more of a lurker TikTok.
Is he the one? Is he the Steelers player who used to go on the
Yes.
team's logo all the time
That
and driving Mike Tomlin nuts?
it was him and the other who's in New England now. I can't remember his name.
Juju.
Juju, yeah. All of anyway. Listen. If he plays, great. If he doesn't play, his week has passed. When you make a play, we'll have some interest in you. Let me get it back to Jeff Wilson. How much of an impact do you think that Jeff Wilson could have on this game and this offense?
I don't. I don't, because the Eagles are good against the run. So I'm not. This is not a game where the Dolphins, I believe, are going to feed with a running game. I believe this is a game where they're going to have to be very sharp with their passing game. Hold the block as long as they need to for the receivers to get open, for Tua to get them the ball. I have a hard time, and I know Mostert and A-Chain and Dolphins have had a 100-yard rusher for the past 5 games. I have a hard time seeing anybody coming close to that. If they have one running back who gets close to 80 yards, I'd actually almost be surprised.
You don't think they're going to be end arounds and edge plays and jet sweeps left and right? You don't think so?
Sure.
Try to soften up that pressure.
Jeff Wilson's not getting the end arounds, though.
Huh?
Jeff Wilson's not the one getting the end arounds.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be probably. I think Raheem is probably going to end up in the Devon A-Chan role.
Yep.
Huh? That's it.
Right? I was just doing the.
Yeah. I think.
No, I agree, but again, it'd be great to see. But again, as much like horizontal stuff that the Dolphins do with their running game, which is great and all that. I mean, I think we need to be fair and not expect them to get 150 yards, 170 yards rushing every single week. I don't quite think that's going to happen. And this is one of those games I think the yards are going to be a lot tougher to come by on the ground.
Mm-hmm. I will agree with that. I'm curious to see how that ride on the Eichenberg Express goes. But hey, you never know where it's gonna take you.
Correct. Anything else we need to discuss before we wrap it up and promote our live show tomorrow at 11 a.m., which I just did? We still good for 11 a.m.?
Live show tomorrow at 11 a.m. Folks, we are working on the audio deal, so we apologize that we are not on audio right now. We're diligently working on it. We got to figure out the right home and the right situation, and more importantly, the right money. We don't want to be paid pennies for things that we know is worth much more. So that's it. AllDolphins.com. Live chat tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Eastern time.
We'll be there. Hopefully you'll be there. And find all our work on AllDolphins.com. And we shall see you mañana.
Until then, thanks for watching.